Just a beautiful fall day at the pond, super warm today. Not a lot of this weather left. It's actually been cold. You can see the ice on the pond. The pond aerator has opened up an area this morning, but this was iced right across. And I think we're at the end of the season for this pond aerator, so we're gonna pull this out. I actually like to take the trade-off of less oxygen in the winter, but we like to skate on this pond. So, you know, you can definitely keep a pond aerator going all year and it'll keep the pond open with a small area, melted ice, but we're gonna skate on it this year. I think I have good oxygenated water naturally, so haven't lost any fish in the past. Hopefully that trend continues, but we're gonna pull that aerator out today, let this thing freeze over because we've got colder weather coming. It's almost too sunny to shoot from this angle, but at this time of year, you can never have too much sun around here. The fish, they're gone deep for the winter now. Like, the water's really cold, and I have not seen them in the shallow area here in the last few weeks. The minnows, they're gone deep too. These fish are just slowing down now in this cold water. As far as water quality goes, this was by far our best year. We have the aerator going, but the big thing that I really learned was do not let any runoff, any groundwater, any surface water pour into your pond. Last year, I got just hammered with 3 heavy rains, and the water just poured in, and my water was embarrassingly green, murky, brown, all those colors. This year, we have not had the heavy storms, but I've also bermed up the side of this pond and not let any water go in, and we have had excellent water. It was a total 180. Love the water quality this year. That's been the huge plus. So for me, I've always had clearer water when it was colder. So that warm, hot summer water sometimes can go a little bit cloudy. I think that's healthy and natural, but I think there's just less going on in that cold water, and it always clears nicely here in the fall for me. So this is the solar powered pond aerator that I've had hooked up here for 2 years. It's just bulletproof, super simple. It's got an air compressor hose that goes from the pump all the way down into the pond, and then that diffuser is right over there at the bottom of the pond. You want to try and get your diffuser in the deepest part of the pond. This is a 2-pump system. There's the 2 little air pumps picking up air and pushing it into the compressor line. So we'll leave the solar aerator hooked up for the rest of the day. I'd like to melt a lot of this ice, hoping it's warm enough. For skating purposes, it's always beautiful when you get one pure sheet of ice freeze up at night. So hopefully we can melt some ice here. It's supposed to be pretty warm, and there's definitely a few more hours of sunlight. So I'll come out later, get rid of the aerator for the year, store that away, and we'll let this pond freeze up. That's very thin, and you can see through that. I developed these little furry weeds, which are kind of cool. They seem to not grow too aggressively, which is nice, but always want some vegetation in the pond. They really developed this here on this one shoreline. There's another Christmas tree under the ice. That's in about 3 feet of water. Very quiet for fish and minnows. There's a few minnows certainly along the shore here, just hanging out, but have not managed to see any decent sized fish. Some more logs and a Christmas tree again. Keep this one in shallow, and it's always full of minnows in the summer. There's a few swimming out of it. Before this pond freezes, we have one last chance to get the camera under the water to check out some fish. So let's cast the camera in and see what we can find. We have a rock bass here. These guys came in really small in a minnow trap 3 years ago. These would be a group of 2-year-old sunfish born in the pond. And these little guys would be 1-year-old sunfish born this past spring. Here we got the smallmouth bass. We never get a bass on camera, but we got this one, and it's tagged. This bass is the first bass we tagged because we put that tag on the left side. It's easy to identify. And we got a big bullfrog here. Looks like he's having a nap, maybe getting ready for winter. Not sure if this is hibernating or what. Here's my pond aerator air line that's way too high in the water column. I got to get that sunk down next spring. The older adult sunfish like schooling in the deeper water. Just love these Christmas trees. They hold so much bait. The fish are glued to these old Christmas trees. Lots of minnows. These are the northern dace minnows. Another tree, and would you look at that, more bait. We get a nice smallmouth here suspending with the sunfish, and like a fool, I pulled the camera up too quick. The wind was blowing the float around that was holding the camera up, and you get a good view here of my bottom. I've got that sandy bottom. Another cast, and this one actually lands on the number 2 smallmouth bass that has the right hand tag. This looks to be the number 1 smallmouth bass again with a little bit of a flyby. Here's a mature sunfish spitting something out. The bass have proven to be very difficult to get on camera over the years, but these sunfish, I don't know, they just play with the camera. They're so curious. We got one cold night and it put on a little bit of ice, not much at all. I'm gonna guess there's a 1/4 inch of ice. We have another cold night coming up, but then there's snow tomorrow, and seems to be the problem that happens every time. The cool part about this clear black ice is you can see through it. So if we had like 2 or 3 more nights of cold weather, I think we'd have enough where we could walk across it. And it is so clear on a sunny day with the sun up high, I think we'd be able to see some fish down in there, especially the bass that have the yellow tags on them. You can really see that 4 or 5 feet away. But tomorrow we have snow coming, and I think that's going to ruin it like it did last year. The problem with that snow is when the ice is not thick enough to support the weight of the snow, that snow pushes down and then the water comes up, mixes with the snow, and you kind of get this grayish colored ice that you can't see through. So we'll see. Tonight's cold too, but I don't think it's going to be cold enough to make enough ice to hold that snow up. Early ice is super cool. You can see through it. I could just see some minnows swim out from underneath this piece of driftwood here. But you can hear that. We cracked that. Yeah, that's not very thick at all. Well, that heavy snow came and turned the ice gray. And then it got warm and all the snow melted, so it's been a strange year so far.